After the tragic 2012 Dana air crash in Lagos, the industry managers made frantic efforts to address loopholes in the system. These steps ushered in some improvements, but the situation was far from perfect. Years later, the results became visible in 2016 and 2017, with no commercial scheduled service accidents recorded in the country. But the events that occurred in February this year, however, showed that things have steadily deteriorated. 3 incidents last month alone drew attention to the safety in the country's aviation sector. The case where the door of a commercial airplane taxiing down the runway after landing from Lagos to Abuja fell off, throwing the passengers into panic. Another passenger airline was prevented from landing as cows strayed into the runway of the Akure airport in Ondo State. And tragedy was averted when yet another commercial aircraft flying from Abuja to Port Harcourt overshot the runway at Port Harcourt International Airport. Well, the Senate has stepped in addressing these looming mishaps. The lawmakers summoned the aviation minister, Minister of State for Aviation, Hadi Sereka, his team of aviation managers to address these issues. Is there a quick fix to Nigeria's air safety challenges? And how much of this can be traced to human errors? I am Shegun Ojelade. I'm being joined in the studio by an aviation expert, Mr. Godi Ike. I welcome you to the program.
Oh, thank you very much, Shegun.
Now,
my dear viewers, welcome, please.
The issue we have on hand is aviation safety in Nigeria. From your point of view, do we have safety issues in Nigeria's aviation sector?
Oh, yes.
Today?
Yes, we do. We do. As a matter of fact, it's not about today. This has gone on for so long. My first encounter with safety issues was way back 2010. As a matter of fact, that airplane that crashed and slaughtered about 153 people in Lagos, I happened to be on board precisely on the 14th of July, 2010, nearly 2 years before it eventually fell off the skies. For same reason that I raised alarm. With my knowledge and experience with, excuse me, airplanes, I saw something that I regarded as a taboo going on. This airline had passengers. First of all, it was a 3 o'clock flight. I'll have to give you these graphic details so that you will understand, how far we've come sliding, down the lane. Now, it was supposed to be a 3 o'clock flight on that fateful day of 14th July 2010. That's correct. And at 3 o'clock, when we were supposed to board, the plane was on the ground, by the way, and they announced that there was a 1 hour delay, that we were going to leave by 4. At 4 o'clock, yet another announcement came on that it would be for 5 p.m. We all sat there. At 5, no more word from anyone. At 6 o'clock, not a word from anyone. We were just sitting there like sitting ducks, very helplessly. And then 7 p.m., an announcement came that we could now go on the board. And as usual, we all heaved sighs of relief and headed out to board. And that day we had a serving honorable minister. As a matter of fact, I will mention his name because it's not any big deal about what went on, because he came to me to ask why I took the steps I took that night. That was the then Foreign Affairs Minister, Barrister Odion Ajimogobi, SAN. He was on board. Now, as soon as we all boarded, the doors were shut. And what did we have? Almost 10 minutes of the engines not coming on. And then I happened to be sitting by the window, and then I looked out and noticed that, you know, some technical works were going on.
On the plane?
Yes, on the engine. That was a taboo. You don't ever do anything like that when passengers were already seated. Because anything could happen. There could be fire. Fire could erupt, and before you evacuate the plane, a couple of people would have been burned to death. And so that alarmed me. Just as I called one of the air hostesses to query why that should be going on when we were already boarded. Of course, my fellow passengers didn't know or understand the technicalities of what's going on. And then she was just about to dismiss me with some explanation when the pilot himself, with thick American accent, I didn't quite pick up that young man's name, but I suspect it might have been this one that eventually lost his life, in the June 3, 2012 eventual crash. And then he came in to say, "Oh, so sorry, passengers, we've delayed you for so long, but in a few minutes we'll be on our way." That he was having issues with starting the engines from the cockpit. So there was a disconnect between the engines and the cockpit. That alarmed me, because the meaning of that was that if we were airborne and for some either weather reasons or some technical reasons that any of those engines flamed out mid-air, he had no chance of restarting the engine. And mind you, starting off a jet engine is not like your car where you slip in your key, wind, and crank your engine. No, it's a procedure.
Okay.
Yeah. So by 2012, exactly 2 years after, they didn't resolve that problem that was causing that issue.
So the plane came down.
The plane came down.
Now, that's about how many years after now? 17?
That's correct.
Now, are the issues still germane? Are they still prevalent? Do you still see some of... I think we've moved on, but some of these things that happened lately may not have been as grievous as the experience you just narrated. We've moved up a little.
Infrastructure-wise, yes, but attitude hasn't changed. I want to tell you, Shego, airplanes are faithful machines. They are built so well that you have thousands of sensors monitoring every inch of the airplane. Before anything goes wrong, the airplane tells you as a pilot, and you make a decision what you want to do, whether you want to risk it or you want to turn it in for maintenance work. The reason airplanes fall out of the sky is, that's what I insist on, is that human operators are mostly dishonest and unfaithful. Otherwise, the airplane machine, most of the equipment that you use there have redundancy. If this one goes bad, you quickly switch to the other and continue doing what you're doing. And if anything is going to go bad, the plane informs you either by a buzz or by voice attenuator or by some light indicators. One way or the other, the airplane tells you what's going on wrong. And if you come in the morning, first thing in the morning as a pilot, and you walk into your cockpit, it's known in aviation circles as coming in dark and cold. In a state known as dark and cold. It's called dark because most of the modern airplanes come with glass cockpits, and when you shut them down, everywhere is dark until you light them up again and turn it on. And of course, with the morning dew and the all night cold, and the cockpit being a small compartment, you get in there, it's a little chilly. So that's why it's described as dark and cold. If you come in, on your roof are knobs and buttons. Those are for scanning. Before you even start, do your startup procedure, you have an opportunity to scan front, back, left, right.
Okay.
If any part of that airplane has issues, the plane tells the pilot right away.
There is one incident of the cockpit, I mean, the door just coming off just like that while the plane was taxiing. That kind of situation is unheard of in some climb. What must have gone wrong?
It happens only in a careless environment such as ours. That must have been, I've thought through it from what I know and assessed what could happen. First of all, the way those doors are mounted is such that they are pulled to the inside to throw them off in times of emergency. All right. Now, what happened? Why that door stayed on until the plane touched down is that up there in the skies, the cabin of the airplane is usually pressurized in order to sustain human life, because the atmospheric pressure on Earth, this place we are, that God Himself created and gave to us free of charge, that enables us to take our breath. It's because of the atmospheric pressure that's existing around us. Now, as you soar into the sky, the atmospheric pressure thins out. It gets to a point that you don't even have any anymore. And so in order for human beings in the cabin to survive, the cabin is pressurized to give you a semblance of the way it is here on Earth, up there, so that you can relax and be comfortable and breathe in and out in a normal fashion.
So that's why the door is closed.
Yeah, so with that pressure, what happens is it keeps those, those doors in place. Okay. Now, what could have happened would have been that some technical individual that carried out some maintenance work didn't fix back that door properly.
Wow.
And so, on getting down from the skies and touching the ground, there was a switch. The atmospheric pressure now out there became higher than the one inside the cabin. And what did he do? Boom! He pushed it in. It's just as, for instance, if you're up in the air with that pressurized cabin and a hole is made in any part of the plane, either one of the doors fell off or however way, it sucks you out.
Why will cows be allowed on the runway? How do they get
that? That is the most irresponsible thing that's ever happened in any airport anywhere in the world. As a matter of fact, there was a time I got so upset about
animals.
Noticing that this happened in Abuja here. Noticing that, cows were allowed into the airport premises and, crisscrossing the parking area and headed out to a direction that I was so sure as egg and egg that they must have crossed one of the runways to get into the bush. That also alarmed me. I thought it was unacceptable. And as God we have it on that day, I had a journalist in my company. And so when I say this, I challenge anyone that's listening and watching to go and verify. I immediately took a trip to the NCAA headquarters. First of all was that the security man at the gate wouldn't let me through the gate. And I identified myself. I said, listen, I work with, on aviation issues. I have a TV show that I sponsor and anchor. And it's all for the benefit of Nigeria and Nigerians and all those living in Nigeria to know what they should know about aviation. It was a big argument for over 20 minutes before they let me through into the gate. Because I insisted, this is a public office, you must let me in. I want to go and see the chief executive because I have something bothering me. I didn't. Okay. I got in there, I was told, after they delayed me for over 20 minutes at the gate, that he was at the airport carrying out inspections. Okay. And now I left my name, my number, and begged to be contacted. I had something very important to the organization, but up until this day, Shego, not a word from anyone. Okay.
Now, these 3 issues that occurred in the month of February, we've only touched 2, the door that came, that was open.
It's just carelessness.
And then the cow.
Some technical
there is again the train trying to touch, touch the ground, and then it skidded off the runway. Now, the Senate has intervened, and from their deliberations, summoned the Minister of State for Aviation and other stakeholders in that sector. Let's just take a A short preview of what transpired on the floor of the Senate at Tuesday.
It has now become imperative to move with speed and alacrity in order to ensure that all relevant agencies in the aviation industry do their work with excellence.
We must give confidence to our citizens with respect to really using aviation to go about doing their business.
They can't, within 2 weeks, you have 2 near misses. I think it's worrisome and it's something we really need to look into seriously.
It is important for us to ensure that this matter is sorted out and then that the regulatory agencies do their work, because once anything happens, there's nothing you can do to reverse it.
Senate of the Federal Republic there intervening in the safety issues in Nigeria's aviation sector. We have not had the last of it, as the Minister of State for Aviation and some other stakeholders in the industry have been summoned by the Senate. We shall keep you posted on developments. Now, Godi, let's look at the intervention of the Senate. It's quite responsive. What do you think?
I must tell you, Shego, without missing words, and with absolute respect for the gentlemen and women, the distinguished gentlemen and women on the Senate, the experience I had when the Dana air crash was being investigated, I was invited because as far as, I don't know how they got the information about how I tried to stop that flight 2 years earlier before it eventually crashed. And then I attended all the sessions, and then when it was my turn to speak, I made graphic presentation of my experience with the airline, and I cross-examined the individuals who represented the airline on the day. Every allegation I made, they admitted on the floor of the Senate. I've got the records right on this iPad. I could give you a copy and go and listen and hear what I said to them, and all the questions I asked and all the answers I got. As a matter of fact, Chegu, just by the way, I'm doing a book on it that will be launched very soon.
Okay.
Very soon.
So the Senate is doing some work there.
Yeah, the Senate got every information. It was graphic. Every information they needed from all the airlines. I remember them walking up to the then, chairman of the
committee at that time,
on aviation at the time, and he happened to be
Senator Hope
Uzodimma. And in order to bring it down to earth and really get to understand how, I spoke to him in vernacular, and I said to him, "This is one accident too many. We can't let this go on. Somebody must be held responsible, and somebody must be punished and be seen to have been punished." And he assured me and said, "Be sure we are serious. We are doing everything that can be done." And I want to ask you, Shego, what do you know about that report today?
Of the committee?
Yes. What do you know about the report? Was there anyone that was sanctioned? Was there anyone that was known and seen to have been punished for all that went wrong? Now, the human nature is such that if you do not show that laws have teeth, can bite, are willing to bite, and we bite when they catch you doing the wrong things, no one gets serious.
Yes, I agree with you. Now, let's look at, will you say that there is a looming danger from some of the things that have happened in recent past in the aviation? Is there a looming danger? Are we going, do you see a situation where we're reversing some of the gains we recorded earlier?
Definitely on the issue of safety, we are on reverse gear. On the issue of safety, we are on reverse gear.
What has gone wrong?
I think those that should ensure that maintenance is carried out and rules are kept. Now, aviation is about safety, safety, and safety. Nothing in between. If you are challenged for 1 second by anything that will compromise safety, you stop that flight. That is aviation for you. But we are in a society where perhaps an inspector will walk into the airplane, check out the logs of the pilots, find that something is really not the way it should be, rather than put his feet down to say, stop this flight, I'm not going to approve that you leave this airport. Somehow
they allowed it.
They allow it to go.
So
if you go on allowing people to go on with such activities, the tendency is that they will take one after the other.
Yes. Why not apportioning blame now? Who do you blame? Do you blame the operators? Do you blame the regulators? Or even, is it the government?
Everyone has its own share of what's going wrong. The operators have their own share. They have their challenges, admittedly. The operators have their own challenges, and I can tell you straight away what it is. The exchange rate of naira to dollar has made it very expensive to maintain the airplane. Unfortunately, we don't have the well-equipped hangars here to deal with some of the maintenance issues. So they must be taken abroad, money paid in exchange. And then, if you also want to match the cost of maintenance with the volume of money needed to do all the, then you and I will not be able to fly. Because it will mean that a trip from Abuja to Lagos might be about 100,000 naira one way.
Now, because of our time, what must we do in the short term? What must we do to avoid this looming danger that you have predicted?
I have severally canceled that the government must bring all these airlines together, consolidate them. This is something that very big accounting firms that know how to consolidate accounts can deal with. Create the necessary books, have them as one large airline, supervised by the government of the day through consultants. They may not just be only local consultants. You can mix them up, with people who have operated in other climates where discipline is a watchword, so that our own people can also learn, the ropes by doing things the way they are expected to be done internationally. So by so setting up, it will become possible for government to inject funds into the system, and then ensure that there's no room for people to fritter away money, like we saw in the days of Air Nigeria. It was one of the airlines that was investigated by the Senate, on the floor of the Senate. I remember that particular fateful day when the chief executive walked in, raving until he was cautioned by the chairman of the committee. And so we had all sorts of ugly things that took place. How airlines will rake in money, and then some individuals will move the money away from the accounts of the airline for other private businesses, and then there will not be any money to maintain.
You are blaming it on funding alone, but again, there is the technical know-how. Do we have the requisite technical knowledge to maintain or run the aviation sector in Nigeria?
So far so good. I must tell you that we have a lot of very intelligent Nigerians out there.
Okay.
Why I say that is that if you go through the history of Nigeria Airways, for instance, it used to be said that Nigeria Airways pilots were the best in the world. That was the kind of Nigeria Airways we had. And it didn't stop the airline from going down. If you go to my blog, you will also be able to read about the rise and fall of Nigeria Airways. So it's not only about funding. We must continue to train and retrain operators.
In one or two sentences,
yes.
Do you see us getting out of the situation? One or two sentences.
We can only get out of the situation if the government sets up an appropriate committee of serious-minded individuals and attend to the sector and deal decisively with all the issues that are at stake. We can't handle them with kid gloves and solve the problem. We were only waiting for another slaughter, but God forbid it.
God forbid it. Now, this is where we call it a date on the program Nigeria Today. We're taking a look at safety issues in Nigeria's aviation sector. I must thank you, Mr. Godi Ike, an aviation expert, for all that you said on the program.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Until we come your way with yet another edition of the program, that will be tomorrow. Do join us then. Bye-bye. Again, I can still...